Did you know that a handful of wolves could change the course of rivers? It sounds like a myth, but it's a true story that unfolded in Yellowstone National Park, and it completely changed how we understand nature. Stick around to find out how one of the world's most misunderstood predators became the unlikely hero of an entire ecosystem. So let's rewind to the 1920s. Yellowstone was a beautiful park, but it had a big problem. There were no wolves. They were hunted to extinction in the area because people saw them as a threat to livestock and game animals like elk and deer. For about 70 years, Yellowstone was a wolf-free zone, and at first, nobody really thought much of it. In fact, some people probably thought it was a good thing, but they were about to learn a very hard lesson. Without wolves, the elk population exploded. Imagine herds of elk everywhere, munching away without a care in the world. This might sound great for tourists who want to see wildlife, but for the park's vegetation, it was a disaster. The elk grazed on young willow, aspen, and cottonwood trees, basically eating them into oblivion. The riverbanks, which were once lush and green, became bare and eroded. The trees never got a chance to grow tall. This had a huge domino effect. Without trees, who suffered? The beavers. Beavers need willows to build their dams. No willows, no dams. Without beaver dams, the entire water system of the park started to change. Ponds and marshes dried up, which were crucial habitats for fish, amphibians, otters, and muskrats. Even songbirds lost their homes because the riverside forests were gone. The ecosystem was slowly unraveling, all because one key player was missing. It was like an orchestra trying to play a symphony without its conductor. The harmony was gone. Then in 1995, something incredible happened. After years of debate and research, scientists decided to try a bold experiment. They reintroduced 14 gray wolves from Canada back into Yellowstone. No one was entirely sure what would happen. Would it work? Could these wolves really make a difference? The answer was a resounding yes, and it happened faster and more dramatically than anyone could have predicted. The wolves, being natural predators, did what they do best. They started hunting elk. Now, this didn't mean they wiped out the elk population, not at all. They just kept the numbers in check, and more importantly, they changed the behavior of the remaining elk. This is the really cool part. The elk became smarter. They stopped hanging out in open valleys and along riverbeds where they were easy targets. They started avoiding areas where they could be easily ambushed by a wolf pack. They had to be on the move, constantly vigilant. And because the elk were no longer overgrazing the riverbanks, something magical began to happen. The vegetation started to come back. The willows and aspen trees began to grow again, and in some areas, the forests grew to 5 times their previous height in just a few years. This phenomenon is what scientists call a trophic cascade. It's a chain reaction that starts at the top of the food chain with the top predator. The wolf tumbles all the way down, affecting every single level of the ecosystem. With the return of the trees, the beavers came back. They found plenty of wood to build their dams, creating new ponds and wetlands. These beaver dams became little oases, creating new habitats for otters, muskrats, ducks, and fish. The songbirds returned to nest in the flourishing trees. It gets even better. The wolves also preyed on coyotes. With fewer coyotes, the populations of smaller animals they used to hunt, like rabbits and mice, began to increase. And what does that mean? More food for hawks, weasels, and foxes? Even bears benefited. They would often come and feast on the leftovers of wolf kills, providing them with an important source of protein, especially coming out of hibernation. The growing berry bush along the revitalized riverbanks also gave them another food source. It was like the entire pantry of the park had been restocked. But the most astonishing change of all was to the rivers themselves. Remember how the riverbanks were eroding away? With the return of the trees and shrubs, their roots stabilized the soil. The rivers began to meander less, their channels narrowed, and more pools and riffles formed. The landscape literally changed shape. The wolves, by simply being themselves, had indirectly engineered the physical geography of Yellowstone. They changed the course of rivers. The story of the Yellowstone wolves is more than just a cool nature fact. It's a powerful lesson about the intricate and delicate balance of our planet. It shows us that every species, from the largest predator to the smallest plant, has a vital role to play. Removing just one piece can cause the entire system to crumble. But reintroducing that piece can bring it back to life in ways we could never imagine. This reintroduction has become one of the most famous and successful conservation stories in history. It taught ecologists about the profound impact of keystone species that have a disproportionately large effect on their environment relative to their abundance. The gray wolf in Yellowstone is the ultimate keystone species. So, the next time you hear a wolf howl, remember it's not just a lonely cry in the night. It's the sound of a healthy, thriving ecosystem. It's the sound of a conductor leading a beautiful, wild symphony. The story of Yellowstone reminds us that to save our planet, we need to respect and protect all its inhabitants, especially the ones we've misunderstood for so long. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as amazing as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales from the natural world. See you next time.